Alright, so in this video, I'm going to talk about shocks, which I did months ago already. Ball joints, just got done. I've got tie rod ends that are going to be here tomorrow. The exhaust, which you'll see later, and a couple other odds and ends on my black Cordoba here. Trying to get a few things done before it gets completely snowed in. We're a couple days away from Christmas right now. That way, come spring, when the weather finally gets nice, I don't have that much more to do. And then I can get this thing out and get the engine fully broke in, put some miles on it, enjoy it before the next thing in my life happens, which I'm not going to go into now. So enjoy. Partway through the ball joint replacement on the driver's side here. Got them out. They actually came out really easy. I was very surprised. The bottom one I was able to just hit with a hammer a number of times and it popped right out. I've never had that before. Both sides were that way. There's the spindle sitting there. I will be replacing tie rod ends later, but I don't have them right now. I took it apart and one of the boots on the other side completely just disintegrated. So I figured out I'm going to replace one, might as well replace all of them. Should have done it right away, but trying not to spend another $100 if I could help it. Okay, for those of you who have never done ball joints before on your car, your Mopar specifically, and maybe you'd want to, I'll show you how to do it. You will need a couple tools, or find somebody who's got them and borrow them. So this is it's a big screw C-clamp used for ball joints, U-joints, that kind of stuff. There's a lot of different pieces to it, a lot of adapters. And in this case, because I don't have a lot of room between the bottom and the floor, I have to do it a little different than I would like to. So, and it's got a whole bunch of adapters and stuff. Put that one on, this guy on, so it goes over, and you have to tap, make sure you tap this so it's as close to straight up as possible. Set that there. Now normally, there's this end that slides in here, and it spins, so you don't have any binding that way. But because I'm short of vertical space, I took that off, and this will go, whoops, underneath the bottom of the U-joint, or the ball joint, excuse me. That way this piece is not directly turning on it, so I don't want to potentially damage where the greaser goes in there. Just put it together, and if you can get a impact on it, you just crank it on with the impact, and it'll buzz it right in there. But these went in really nice and easy, and the other side I did just with a wrench. The other thing I do, I just put a little bit of oil in that groove down there. Helps it slide in. And make sure you clean all the junk out of there first. And it should pop in there pretty nice and easy. So there it is, kind of on there. We're about ready to tighten it up, and it should just slide in like the other side did, hopefully. So the bottom is in completely. One thing that's nice about this kit is one of these adapters fits perfectly over the boot. So you can tap on the top of this and get that boot to sit down on the part of the ball joint where it goes. Because they fit really tight, and just to try to put a, heaven forbid, a chisel or something like that in there and try to tap around the edge, that never seems to go well. It ends up getting nicked. Or something like this, like I say, it fits perfect for these ball joints, and it's fantastic. Works for both upper and lowers. So now it's on to the upper, which is a screw-in type, and it's got a weird head on it, for those of you who don't know. Slip it in there, and then you need a special socket, of course, that corresponds with that. There's like 3 different sizes of these Mopar ball joint sockets. I have 3 of them. I've only ever used 2. I have no idea what that third one is for, but if I ever find one, I've already got the socket, which is good. Again, if you don't have it, find somebody you can borrow it from if you're going to do this on your own. Okay, so a couple details here. Something I forgot to mention earlier, but there's this hole where the cotter pin goes through. Make sure that's oriented however you want. Usually with these, it's with the length of the car. That's the easiest way to get the cotter pin in. Once they're all together and tightened, you're not going to turn them at all. So there's that. And these ball joints, these uppers, usually come, of course you get your castle nut, but they come with a washer. And on some vehicles, you need to put it between the spindle and the nut to get the castle nut oriented in the oriented in the right spot so you can get the cotter pin through. None of these B-bodies that I've ever put these in need this washer, so don't even bother trying to put it in the first time, because the castle nut isn't going to go up far enough on the threads, and you're not going to be able to put your pin in. And something else that's important, you can take the bottom apart. You can take that bottom ball joint out, you can get it from off of the spindle with the rotor and everything on. You cannot get it back together because you can see in there's very little clearance. And so you have to, you don't have to take the shield all the way off, just loosen it enough, and you can pull it out, and then the bottom end of the lower control arm will slip past there. Otherwise, you're going to probably damage the threads on the ball joint on the way in because it's getting pushed at a weird angle it doesn't want to fit. Like I say, you can take it apart, no problem, because especially if you leave the upper ball joint connected to the spindle, there's enough tension in that torsion bar. Once you crack that ball joint loose on the bottom, it'll pop out of there. It'll force its way out. Out is easy, in is hard. So, put this together, tighten a couple bolts, and my ball joints are done. So I have the bottom lifted up with the jack right now. Otherwise, with the tension on the torsion bar, the whole lower control arm ball joint, and I recommend doing the bottom first and then lining up the top. But you need to push or put tension on going back up because the lower or the upper control arm will not bend down far enough to meet the spindle because of the torsion bar, because the bottom can move farther than the top. So basically, you more or less have to take all the weight off the car, put it all on that lower control arm, and then you can bring the upper down and get it into the spindle. This side is completely done, minus the tie rod ends, of course. And it went together really nice, really simple, really smooth. It'd be nice if I could jack the car up higher in the air. I could get my big C-clamp ball joint tool, which is over there on the ground. I could get that underneath a little easier without having to set it up in a strange way. But this is what I can do with the jack I have, unfortunately. But it works. On here, on the, there we go, the end of the grease zerks, same thing with the end of the bleeder screw of the caliper, I've got little covers. And they are, there's the Napa number, bleeder screw, just a little rubber cover. Come in a bag of 10 or a box of 10. They sell them individually, but you might as well get a box of 10, maybe 2 boxes right away, because you got 2 ball joints, couple tie rod ends, and a bleeder screw on the caliper. You got 5 aside just in that, plus every other bleeder or screw and U-joint or grease zerk you've got underneath the car. You'll go through them all. They don't fit super nice on the grease zerks, but they're not, so I don't know if they're going to stay on. I know there's a couple different kinds, but they're cheap. These things are like 20 cents a piece or something like that. So if they fall off, they fall off. If they don't, great. Now, our shock absorbers, the front shocks. The correct ones are these right here. These are the cheaper line, and that's the only thing you can get, it seems like, no matter where you look. And these, OE Spectra, they're like an original equipment type of shock. I can get the good ones for the back, but I can't get the good ones for the front. So, I work part-time at Napa, so I can dig around in the books and the computer and stuff, and this is what I came up with. This shock, 5811, is actually for, I think, like a 68 or 9 a C body, like a Polara, something like that. And I looked it up, and it's just a little bit taller overall, like half-inch, quarter-inch, something like that, and it got just a little bit more travel in it than what's listed as a factory style one. And the only difference, as you can see, is that, other than, like I say, a little bit in the height. Well, that is easy to overcome. I measured it out, and it just so happens 3 washers stacked on edge on each side make up the difference in that. Otherwise, they're exactly the same. The top is the same. The length isn't enough of a difference to notice. And maybe since the C body, it's maybe got a little more juice in there, so maybe it'll handle the big block a little better. Who knows? I don't know. Maybe it's all the same in there, because like these, they actually fit quite a few things, and same thing with these, you know. So, and maybe the shocks don't necessarily do a lot for weight, but I guess I'll find out. Anyway, that's kind of where I'm at. I've got one in, it seemed to work okay so far, and so there it is. Got the exhaust done on my 78 Cordoba. I figured I'd take a video of it before I took it off the trailer so you can kind of see it. Really tough to see, really. But one detail that the guy did that I forgot about until he mentioned, typical of Mopars, would have this little bit of an upturn right before it turned down underneath the muffler, so that from the back you don't see much. All you see is the tips coming down. I might trim this off a little bit like that, because I've noticed, just getting on and off the trailer a couple times now, that it has a tendency to scrape a little bit because this thing sits a little low in the back, and I've seen that a lot of others too, where it's just cut flat a little bit on the bottom. So, but I'll show you what I'm talking about. Looking at it from behind, you just kind of see the tips sticking down. You don't see a lot of the pipe, which my Blue Fury, same guy did it, but for whatever reason, he didn't think about it, or I didn't even know about it really, or I wasn't thinking about it. Just straight back and then angled down just a smidge. So, but it sounds good, looks good, and got to get some ball joints in it so I can get a wheel alignment done. And then there's some other stuff on the inside too that's I've got finished too. All my lights are in, minus one. That's the original, I guess, incandescent style backup light bulb. And I put an LED in over on this side. There we go. Car's in here, really packed in here tight, so I can't get a good angle on any of this. But just a simple LED bulb. I've been doing that with everything for the reverse lights on everything lately. If I have to replace one, I replace both of them right away. I mean, it is kind of silly expensive. A light bulb is like 50 cents versus these are like, I think my cost is like $14, $16 for the pair. But as you can see, they're really bright. So, but otherwise, every light bulb has been replaced on the outside of the car. Well, almost. I haven't replaced the opera lights. I need to verify that those work or don't work. I guess I can do that right now. Boom. Now you can't see it, but they're on. It's pretty dim. I should put LEDs in there and make them nice and bright. But anyway, maybe I'll do that. That's one of the last things I have to do, I guess, exterior-wise with the car. And then it's done. And then it's just some miscellaneous inside stuff.